Hi, we're here today at Staglin Vineyards. I'm with Shari Staglin right now, and we're inside their winery in a cave. This winery is gorgeous. When did you build this?
Well, it took us a long time to get our winery. We had our vineyard. We bought a fully producing vineyard in '85, but then it wasn't until 2000 that we started digging our caves to build our underground winery, and we finished it in 2002. So it's pretty new.
We're out here in the vineyard, and we're sitting under a really shady tree. It's very nice out here today. What can you tell us about the vineyard out here? This looks like, I would say these look like grapes to me. What are they actually?
Good choice. Good guess. Yeah, these are vines that were planted approximately in 1990. So they're almost 16 plus years old. Big, gnarly vine trunks that you can see there. This is Cabernet using the original clone that was planted with André Tchelistcheff. We think it came from some properties in this whole area here. We call it the Martha's clone because it has that wonderful kind of eucalyptus character that's characteristic of what came from that vineyard. It's a term that was coined, I think, by André Tchelistcheff a long time ago. Another famous wine writer named Dan Berger, I think, actually did a study about, well, what is the bench lands that everybody talks about, the Rutherford Bench? What is it? What does it consist of, and is there really a soil type that's associated with that? And his studies, which I'll cite those because they're more authoritative than us just telling you, is that basically over thousands of years, by being at the base of this Mayacamas range of mountains here, that the topsoil that were on these mountains washed down onto this area here and created a deep, gravelly, loamy kind of soil, which is what Cabernet really loves to have.
See how fine this soil is? It's almost, I mean, if you see it, it's almost like face powder.
Deep, gravelly, loamy soil, so it just keeps going down and down and down, farther and farther. So
it goes 6 feet down,
yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
This is the volcanic soil that's washed down off Mount St. John over the last 30 million years. And it's not from a volcano. Mount St. John's not a volcano, but there were cinder cones all over this valley that resulted from the faults that came up the state, and the incredible heat that it generated from way below the surface pushed up these little cinder cones all over the valley, and that's what created this volcanic soil. But it was all flat then, and then shortly after that, it created mountains that went way up, and so this soil was on the mountains and then it washed down. So the clay soil is on the mountains, and this great Rutherford dust is down here.
It is that wonderful brown color, which we think contributes to the aromatics that we were just describing in the eucalyptus and this Rutherford dust taste that's there. And its drainage is the friend of Cabernet. Cabernet does not like to have wet feet, so having this great drainage allows it to retain that tiny concentration of flavor as opposed to sucking up the moisture coming from a more clay-like condition. So these are planted at a spacing that is 6 feet between the vines and 10 feet between the rows. This is 6 feet between these two vines here, and this is 10 feet between the two vines on either side here. And so this, at the time that we replanted, was the size of the tractors that were there. And it was a part of the process that people thought this was the right spacing. And if you can see the vines, they go up and they go this direction. That's a cordon is what that trellising and methodology is. If you noticed when you came through the property, all the new plantings are now at a much denser spacing. They are at 4 feet between the vines and 6 feet between the rows. This is 4 feet.
6 feet across this way and 4 feet vine to
6
vine.
feet in here. Yeah, much tighter spacing, and you can see this cordon, the fruit is much lower, and instead of the grapes going up and over, this one comes up and just goes in one direction. So we have 5 shoot positions here, and then we move this down to 1 cluster per shoot. And the theory behind all of that is that you want to achieve this proper balance between stress and nutrient levels so that the vines don't get too fat, dumb, and happy. They stay small and intense, and by increasing the density, you control that process by having them compete for the nutrients and water that are in the ground. If you go too much, you'll starve them out. If you go too big, then there's too much nutrients in the ground, and the grapes have a much more dilutive character.
Probably in '95 we started thinning more, and then when Michel Roland started helping us out with the '99 vintage, he convinced us that we should be thinning even more, and we have in most places gone to 1 cluster per shoot.
Yeah, so we were talking about 1 cluster per shoot. Yeah. Well, right here, this is a shoot, and you can see there's 2 clusters here.
So the one that we'll take off will be this one.
We'll
that's less vigorous, right? Or less.
Yeah, and the one closer to the trunk is usually the one we want to keep because that's the one that's going to be the best. And then over here, like this one, yeah, we'll take off this one.
And here there's 3 on this one.
There's 3, and we definitely aren't going to keep. We're going to take off this one. Yeah. We'll probably leave that one there. Sometimes we leave 2 per shoot, but it just depends on the vine and how it looks like it's going to carry it. And that really has improved the quality. We see the difference. We've done experiments of, 8 rows of 1 cluster, 8 rows of 2 clusters, and we really see the flavors having a better balance in the those that have less clusters per shoot.
So now, like the vine is putting energy into both of these by cutting that back. Then it just can concentrate over here.
That's on that single one, and you can't do it too early because then this one will get too big. It'll have too much nutrient throughout its growing season. So that's why we wait till the veraison period to take the first one off.
So you're trying to keep the berry size relatively small to keep the juice to skin ratio.
Right.
Keep the high volume. You don't want a lot of liquid in there. So this is the second crop. So this all happened during the first blooming. But what also on every vine is the second crop, which is up here.
It's usually up high.
It's up high like this.
We just go through and pull those off.
Yeah. Now some people actually leave these on and let them get ripe and actually pick them and try to make wine out of them. But you'll never have fruit quality that's in it. And they are also messing up the nutrient balance too.
See how they don't? They're just not. They're just little.
There.
Yeah, and there'll always be these little shot berries. So we will go through and clean all this stuff up. After we do this, then we'll come back through, and another pick will come and do that. We'll take off the second crop. Normally, that vineyard would produce somewhere in the 8+ tons an acre if you let it go. If we were growers of Cabernet, it would be 8. The way we're doing it, it's something closer to 3.
2.5 to 3 now.
2.5 to 3. So we're losing 60 to 70% of the grapes that are out.
Just got to break your heart to lose those grapes.
It does.
You have
see
to
all
have.
those baby
You need to have faith. You need to have faith. When they come in and say, "We got to thin it again," I said, "Oh my God! I mean, that's $30,000 you're going to put on the ground right there. Do you think this is going to be really going to happen?" And they said, "Absolutely."
Yeah. The idea here is really to give a sense of place to our wine and to develop. To express the terroir. Which is very particular to this site through the Cabernet Sauvignon. And we believe that the smaller the berries are, more concentration we have, and better expression of the terroir we have.
Luc was talking about terroir. It's a combination of a lot of things. It's the soil, but it's the sun, and it's the elevation, and it's the wind, and it's all those things that do define this sense of place. And what we're trying to do is preserve that in the wines.